Hello, it's Amanda here from Suddenly Autistic, and in this video blog diary I'm going to be talking about something I touched on in my last video, and that's becoming myself, of how I have noticed over the past month or so that I really am feeling differently about myself now, after what's been around 3.5 years of knowing I'm autistic, and during that time spending quite a decent amount of time really thinking and exploring and feeling in my body my new existence, I suppose, which might sound a bit weird, but I have a history of dissociation, low level of emotional intelligence, coming into this, not really understanding that and emotions in general, and I suppose a cultural background also of that not being the main thing, so emotions not being the main thing, not as important as the doing. So just get on, pull yourself up and just get on with it, that kind of narrative. That's changed for me. That's changed quite substantially. And has it changed and now I can't do anything? No, it's changed and now I'm very powerful. I am Wonder Woman. Well, I'm not really. I've always have been. I'm human. I feel myself, I want to say, but then that sounds a little bit sexual and that's not what I'm talking about. But I kind of feel more myself. I feel more true to myself. I feel like I'm honouring myself more, and I'm able to look after myself more now that I know that I'm autistic, and that it's not an extra tab on me. It's not like, here's Amanda, oh, and now we're going to give you this label. You're wearing the label. Don't forget you've got the label on. Tell everyone about the label. This is permeating every cell, and that's what I want to talk about. Yeah! Becoming myself. Let's dive into it. I've got my other computer. In fact, I might just put that there, and then I can look beyond it a bit. Maybe that's better. I don't know. It's hard to know. Let's put that there. So when I first got diagnosed with autism, when I first realised I was autistic, I don't know how to say these things still. It doesn't really matter, I guess. It's my journey, it's my words. But this is where I'm still on a journey of finding my own voice. And it's coming out of all of me now. I'm able to check my whole self. Anyway, when I first got given a diagnosis, I guess it felt to me like being given anything else. It's like, oh, here's something for you. This is something I wanted, and something by that point that I was seeking. I was seeking an explanation, I must clarify, not a diagnosis. I didn't go to this final step in my journey of gaining all these beautiful diagnoses that I have, knowing what I was going to get, or requesting that I suspect I have this, can you ask me? It was a little bit like that, and it got more like that over the way, but my journey was dominated on by a need, an absolute need. This is not right. I am not right. I am struggling. I cannot do this anymore. I am not able to manage my life and be the mother I want to be the the person at work I want to be. I don't feel comfortable in my own skin. This kind of thing. So while the last step did see me going down that journey of, oh, well, maybe it's autism, let's have a look, it was by no means, we are testing you for autism and, oh yeah, look, you meet the criteria. It was very much at that point, well, let's just see where the cards fall. Let's investigate all these different things. We'll keep an open mind, and we're also not going to be excluding other things, because there could be other things there. And I think that's really important, and I'm really grateful that I was able to go through that process and with professionals and get a diagnosis that way. I understand that not everybody is and not everybody does, and that's by no means a problem to me. Everyone's situation's different, but I think for me and my particular way of being over the years, where I had such a low level of emotional engagement and was very heavily dissociated from my body to the point of being able to quite, hurt myself quite badly without really recognizing it. I think I don't even like saying I think. I'm a bit conscious of my words, but I don't want to edit the videos. I needed help. I was not living in this meat skeleton well enough to find it without some other person. So that's what happened. So I get given this diagnosis, and it was a bit like being given a hat or a backpack, more like it was like, oh, here's your diagnosis. So I put it on and I go out into the world, and it felt weird. I remember early days for me as a young woman, teenager, whatever I was definitely a teenager. I was probably about 12 or 13 when I started experimenting with makeup, maybe even a bit younger. I haven't got any makeup on, ironically, but I kind of got it all out of my system when I was very young. But I had really bad skin. I had quite bad acne when I was at that middle school, and I wanted to hide it. So I started to learn how to use makeup, and probably did it badly, like most young women do. Or you just play around and do the best you can, and that's what I did. The first few times I put on the foundation, it felt terrible. It felt like I literally felt like I was wearing a mask, and I don't like masks. I actually hate anything like that. I'm very sensitive to sensations and feeling claustrophobic and whatever. So wearing makeup was terrible for me, but my desire to fit in and not look spotty at school was bigger than the discomfort I was feeling from the makeup. So I pushed through, and eventually it became second nature. And for much of my history as a woman in the world, I wouldn't go out without my foundation on, and even when I was doing sport, I would put some on. I never. I'm not going to explain it anymore. It doesn't really matter. But that was a thing for me. It was an important part of me to have this skin that I would wear. My autism diagnosis felt a bit like that to me, and I was by this age, used to carrying stuff around with me, carrying the mask, putting up with it, putting up with a backpack of autism, and then going, oh, I've got to look in that backpack every time I do something, because I'm autistic now. So, these feelings that I'm having, this discombobulation that I'm getting, or these thoughts that I'm trying to process afterwards, it's because there'll be something in the autism backpack that will help me with this. And that's how I went through it. And I went through it with you on this blog. In those early days, I was trying really hard to get in touch with my body, because it was something that I wasn't used to. And I had taken up a little bit of somatic therapy in conjunction with my other investigative work. So I was learning how, your stomach feels like this, your head feels like this, your eyes are like this, your fists are like this. This might be an indication that you have a feeling, and your feelings could be this sort of thing. So this is my feelings wheel, one of them. I still need this. I need this all the time. I need reminding what's going on inside my body, because it doesn't come naturally, and it doesn't always happen at the same time. But in the beginning, this was in my autism backpack, and I'd have to pull it out and go, oh yeah, you're autistic now, you've got to look at this, because autistic people don't know how to do this, and this is quite normal for someone who's autistic. This actually proves that you're autistic. And this was how I was thinking. How I was feeling in those early days in my body was buzzy. I was a little bit buzzed, a little bit wired. I was quite energetic, which is why I went straight on and made this blog. I was also feeling tense. I'd get quite tense. Am I doing this right? Is this the right thing? Or is this an autism thing, or is this a trauma thing, or is this just an Amanda thing? How do I know? How can I felt congested and knotted up, literally, like there was balls of, like a big, if you do any knitting or anything, or any stitching, anything I do really, everything, even your jewellery box, everything gets tangled up together. I felt like everything was tangled up inside me. I couldn't really, I would start pulling a thread, and then everything would come up, and then it would, So I felt like that. I also kept getting bouts of spaciness and disconnect, floating. Again, very common for these are very common sensations for me with my um, dissociative symptoms that I've had since being a little kid. So I was feeling a combination of tense and clenched and disconnected and spacey. I was feeling knotted inside and also quite congested. But I was also feeling buzzy and full of energy, which is I wanted to share my journey and get it out there, talk to you guys, connect with other people. How are you going, guys? Look, I'm here with you. I'm walking this path with you. Maybe we can learn together. I felt awake when I wasn't asleep, which was quite often because I was disconnected and spacey and tense. But in some moments I felt more awake and more alive than I ever had been. I felt very open to learning, open to connecting to people in the world. But I also felt nervy and a bit apprehensive about the whole thing. How would I be perceived? I know this is right about me, but will everybody accept me? Do I look autistic enough, or do I look normal enough? What do I look like? And lots of other things. I felt at times energy flowing through me. I felt like I was getting into my flow, and I also felt expanded as a person. So overall, it was a very positive experience and a very challenging one that came with a lot of pain. So all these thoughts, all these feelings were bubbling up and passing through my body in the early days of walking around with my autism backpack into the world, going to work, getting groceries, being at home with the kids, whatever. And I was trying to work out who I was. So my self-image, my self-identity had shifted because having it confirmed that you're on the spectrum and you qualify for this diagnosis and you also have this and you've also got these things, that shook me. That shifted me. That took me from my center and plopped my center somewhere else, and I had to find it again. So my self-image was being remolded. Who is this Amanda? Who are you? How do you describe yourself? How do you feel about yourself? So there was, again, good and bad, I suppose, or we shouldn't. I could, whatever. All emotions are valid, and all of that feeds into our self-image. But yeah, I did have some positive and expansive elements to my new self-image that were coming out of knowing I was autistic, and I also had some more constrictive and difficult emotions that were playing into my self-image too. And so on the plus side, I felt very proud of myself. I have achieved a lot in my life. I achieved a lot before I realised how I operate and how I worked, and I had overcome and I had shown resilience in the face of coming home and going, oh my God, why can't I do this? Why is everything so hard for me? What is going on? I kept on going. I was used to just keeping on going. So I was very proud of myself. I also felt very curious about the world and very open, like I said before, and very creative. I was really, and I keep saying this in the past tense because I'm in a different place now, but it's true still, very courageous as well. I was, I'm gonna do this. I can do this. I can get it. I can find out who I am. So I was eager. And all of this, again, playing into my self-image. I'm a can-do person. I'm creative. I'm relieved that I found out who I am. Now I can put energy into just being this better person. I can reach my full potential. I was also confused, but I was happy in that confusion, if you like, because I recognise that I'm not going to have all the answers in the beginning, and that these are things that are going to come out over time. Also, I was feeling lost and helpless and hurt. I was feeling very hurt by the fact that I'd managed to exist on this planet for so many years without someone tapping me on the shoulder and going, "Oh, mate, I think you're autistic," or whatever. Now, I know that there's rules and protocols and blah and this and that, and there's fors and againsts of outing somebody who didn't ask to be outed, or even anyway, it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. But I did feel hurt, and I also felt a little bit humiliated in some ways, because I thought, well, hang on here, if it's so obvious now, why were people laughing at me behind my back before? So I felt a little bit ashamed. I felt a little inadequate, to be honest. I felt infuriated and hurt and let down by society for letting me just keep on, you know, and clearly hurting myself and asking. It's not that before my diagnosis I was somebody who'd be like, no, I'm all right, mate, I'm all right. Yep, no, don't talk to me about your feelings and stuff. I'm all right. I have been open and curious and searching since the get-go, and it's something that I've been very verbal, like very expressive about. So I did feel hurt, lost and let down, and I also felt overwhelmed by the whole thing. So it was a huge, my self-esteem had kind of taken a bit of a knock. I still felt like a good person and that I'd achieved a lot and that my life was valuable. I wasn't depressed at all. And I also recognised that I felt very, very unsettled in myself, unanchored. I'd lost my anchor. Unraveling the shame, blame, and my fear of going insane is what happened next, and that's what's been taking me so long. When I say my fear of going insane, I had, before I started on the journey of getting more therapy and then thinking, well, maybe there's something here, maybe there is some ADHD, I think I started off with. I actually felt like I was losing my mind, and there have been times, and there are still times, when I do feel the mental illness side of what I've been through quite intensely. And going insane, losing my mind, becoming brain dead, if you like, or burning my brain out, these are not just fears. This is somewhat of a reality for me. It's not an inevitability that I will push myself to the ultimate limit and lose the ability to come back to some rational thought and whatever. But there have certainly been lots of times in my life where I have felt like I've burnt my brain out and I can't rely on it anymore. I can't trust my own self. You know, I lose track of time. I don't know whether I've done things or not. I can't string a sentence together. I fall over, you know, and can't coordinate myself because I'm so tired. I'm a good writer usually, and I can create things, but that all goes out the window when my brain's absolutely devoid of chemicals and capacity. And then there's also the earworms. You know, I have these when I'm getting less mentally well, or when I'm losing my mental health. I have repeated like song lyrics or phrases go through my head and just won't turn off. I also clench and stress myself out, which I have a feeling reduces the blood flow to my brain. Maybe, I don't know, this is just a theory. So I've been worried about my brain health in the past quite a lot. I must say that I am less worried now, so that's a good thing, because I recognise all these things a lot quicker and have the tools and the capability to do something about them. But yes, unravelling the shame, the blame, and my fear of going insane has been the journey of a lifetime. It's been an uphill, downhill, mountainous climb to come to a point of acceptance and accepting my vulnerability while still being curious as to whether that is actually where my vulnerabilities lie or my limitations are. Can I go further? Can I do more? Oh no, actually I've got to pull back. I'm more accepting of that now than I ever have been. When I talked about feeling like a whole integrated person again, and it had happened at a work at one of a work event a few weeks ago, I posted a video about it, and I recognized that state of being, that state of full integration for me, where my autism no longer feels like something that's in a backpack. It actually is just me. I am this, and so much more. That I recognise that couldn't happen. That happened because I felt safe. Safety is the most important thing, and safety can be. It comes back to our self-identity, how safe we feel to be ourselves, but it has elements of emotional, physical, financial, intellectual, societal, lots of different elements that make us, that allow us to feel safe. I recognised that it was very difficult for me to fully integrate. Like, I was happy and felt safe enough saying I was autistic with my autism in my backpack, but actually having me being, I'm Amanda, I'm autistic, and actually having it naturally flow through me like I'm Amanda and I've got blue eyes. I don't think about my blue eyes all the time. Sometimes the only time I really think about that is that they're more vulnerable in the sun than if they were brown. But even then, it's like I'm not going, oh, I've got blue eyes, so I've got to wear sunglasses, got blue eyes. I'm not saying it all the time. It's just, you know what I mean? It's something that you just do. I don't know whether this makes sense, but anyway, change is difficult when we feel unsafe. I have started to feel safe in myself, and that has basically integrated my autism into me. It stopped becoming a second thing. So after a while, I've noticed myself taking up space differently. First, I was a little self-conscious. It was a little clunky. It was like there was a little voice inside of me saying, oh, you can get your fidget toy out now, it's okay, or you can put headphones on if you want to, you can tap, it's not a problem, don't, but still have your manners, but that's okay, you're autistic, you need to do that, that's, you're feeling those sensations, you need to do it. And also things like, oh, you don't have to stay for the whole thing if you don't want to, you can leave when you want. In those moments, in the past, I felt like there was two of me. There was the old Amanda, and then there was autistic Amanda in the backpack. The old Amanda was still trying to maintain control in a usual pragmatic, detached, intellectualising way. So it was going back to that, well, it's because you're autistic you do that. No. Well, this is a difficult situation. I notice that is changing. So one day, a little after the fact, this is talking about the work meeting that I was at, I was reflecting on that day, I'm reflecting on going to a work conference and coming home, and I realised that my inner voice had changed. The old Amanda wasn't needed anymore. The old Amanda was dead. And so long live Amanda, me, this thing. So what I felt there was a shift in the backpack. It's like I put the autistic backpack down because it had almost sunk into me. It wasn't extra anymore. It was just me. But what actually had got in the backpack that I could put down was the old version of me that wasn't thinking and that wasn't feeling, that was led by her thoughts and her brain and her logic and her pragmatism. I value those things still. The new Amanda still values those things and understands the value, the equal and if not sometimes more important value of being fully integrated and fully present and feeling. We are human beings, we're not just human doings, and I now know that I'm a human being that's being autistic, and that's just how it is. All it took, so if you want to do that too and you want to follow me with these handy hints, all it took was safety, space and time. How simple is that? Like, just so simple. It's like, just follow me and buy these things. It's very, very easy. Of course it's not easy. It also took hard work, bags of curiosity, a willingness to tolerate distress, a lot of distress. Sometimes even killing the hope of people, places, things, ideas, identity that doesn't serve me anymore. A lot of self-reflection, a lot of research and reading, and also testing that research, experimenting on myself really. A lot of building new skills and trying out the skills and feeling like they went wrong, but then celebrating when they went okay, and having all that compassion for myself and also a tenacity to keep on going. Just keep on going. This is the right thing. Eventually it will feel good. I am so grateful that I took the time. I've taken these 3.5 years to work through that. I don't feel like I'm at the end of my journey, but as I've said before, I make these videos when I feel like I've got something to share, and it's called Suddenly Autistic because that's how I felt when I started the video. I'm not going to change that because that is a hugely important feeling and moment in my journey personally, from someone without a diagnosis to someone going through the process, and then to somebody who's come through the other side and feels themselves again, probably more so than I ever did. So I'm going to keep doing Suddenly Autistic, but it is getting different. It's a different thing, as anything else is when you do it for a long time. It's reflecting this integrated experience and this less self-conscious, less clunky, more natural way of being, where I am me. And the label is no less important, but it's not in the backpack anymore. It's everywhere. It's just who I am. So thank you very much for coming with me on this journey. I hope it's been interesting, and I'll see you again soon.